The electronic board flickered, the green text cutting through the tension of the arena like a blade. Sakura Haruno versus Ino Yamanaka. Well, Ino said, tossing her long blonde hair over her shoulder. She looked at Sakura with a mixture of pity and annoyance, the same look she used to give stray cats. Looks like I get a free pass to the finals. Sorry, forehead, but you should probably just forfeit. You're not cut out for this. Look at your hair. You ruined it. Sakura stood by the railing. Her hands were shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from adrenaline. She touched the ends of her hair, ragged, uneven, a testament to her failure in the forest but also her survival. I'm not forfeiting, Sakura said quietly. What? Ino blinked, her blue eyes widening. I said, Sakura turned, her eyes burning with a green fire that matched the determination she had seen in Naruto and Sasuke. I'm not forfeiting. And I'm done walking behind you, Ino pig. I'm done being the girl who watches. Sakura, Naruto whispered from the balcony. He saw the way she stood. It wasn't the stance of a girl trying to impress a boy. It was the stance of a kunoichi ready to war. The fight was brutal. It wasn't a clash of titans like Gaara or Lee. It was a brawl. A messy, personal, ugly brawl between two girls who knew every one of each other's secrets. Ino was faster, her taijutsu polished by years of clan training. She landed a kick to Sakura's ribs that sent her skidding across the stone floor. Stay down, Ino yelled, panting. Why do you have to be so stubborn? You're going to get hurt. Sakura stumbled back up, spitting blood. Because Naruto wouldn't stay down, Sasuke wouldn't. This isn't about them, Ino shouted, charging again. Yes, it is. Sakura blocked a punch, her forearms screaming in protest. They're monsters, Ino, beautiful, terrifying monsters. Naruto fights even when his own blood is trying to kill him. Sasuke fights demons in his head, and I just watch. She tackled Ino, driving her into the ground. They rolled, trading punches, pulling hair, scratching. I'm tired of watching, Sakura screamed, slamming her fist into Ino's cheek. Ino shoved her off, scrambling back. She looked at Sakura, really looked at her for the first time in years. She didn't see the shy girl who hid behind her bangs. She saw a rival. Fine, Ino wiped blood from her lip. She flashed through hand signs. Mind transfer jutsu. Sakura saw it coming. Ino's spirit launched itself across the arena, an invisible bullet aimed at her consciousness. In the academy, Sakura would have frozen. She would have let it happen. But she had watched Naruto. She had watched the way he used the environment, the way he turned the ground into a weapon. Sakura threw two kunai, but she didn't aim at Ino. She aimed at the floor. Clink, clink. Invisible wires, thin as spiderwebs, snapped tight between the kunai. Sakura had set a trap. As Ino's mind hurtled toward her, Sakura yanked the wires. A hidden explosive tag, buried under a loose stone, detonated. Boom! Dust filled the arena. Ino's jutsu was disrupted by the shockwave. Her spirit snapped back into her body, leaving her reeling and disoriented. Sakura burst through the smoke. She didn't use a jutsu. She used a right hook, fueled by months of frustration and fear. Crack! Ino hit the ground hard. Sakura stood over her, panting, her knuckles raw and bleeding. But Ino wasn't done. She swept Sakura's legs, knocking her down. They grappled, rolling in the dust, trading blows until they could barely lift their arms. I won't lose, Ino wheezed. Neither will I, Sakura gasped. They threw one last punch, their fists connecting with each other's faces at the exact same moment. Double knockout, Hey Gecko announced as both girls collapsed, exhausted and unconscious. Naruto leaned over the railing, grinning so hard his face hurt. She did it, he whispered. She actually did it. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. She's blooming, Naruto, just like you. A different kind of flower, perhaps, but just as thorny. The board flickered again. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba and Yuzuka. Finally, Kiba cheered, jumping over the railing with Akamaru on his head. I get the dead last. Easy win, Akamaru. We'll show him what real speed looks like. Bark, Akamaru agreed, wagging his tail. Naruto walked down the stairs. He didn't jump. He didn't shout. He walked with a calm, deliberate pace that made the other rookies quiet down. His orange jacket was still torn from the forest, stained with dried mud and sap. Hey Naruto, Kiba yelled. Don't cry when I beat you. I'll try to go easy on you since you're traumatized or whatever. I heard you froze up in the forest. Naruto stopped in the center of the arena. He looked at Kiba. His blue eyes were clear, devoid of the frantic energy that usually defined him. You can come at me with everything you have, Kiba, Naruto said. I don't mind. Kiba blinked. What's with the attitude, trying to act cool like Sasuke? No, Naruto said, raising his hands into a seal. Just trying to be me. Begin, Hade signaled. Smoke bombs, Kiba shouted, throwing 3 spheres onto the ground. Purple smoke exploded, filling the arena. It was thick, acrid, and completely blocked vision. You can't fight what you can't see, Naruto, Kiba's voice echoed from everywhere. But I can smell you. Akamaru can smell you, fang over fang. 2 tornadoes of fur and claws tore through the smoke. One hit Naruto from behind, sending him flying. The other hit him from the side, slashing his arm. Naruto tumbled, skidding across the floor. He stood up, wiping blood from his cheek. He couldn't see anything. Calm down, he told himself. Remember the tree climbing, remember the bridge, feel the wood. He closed his eyes. He couldn't see Kiba, but he could feel the floor. He could feel the wooden pillars supporting the balcony. He pressed his soles into the stone. Thump, thump. He felt vibrations, 2 sets of footsteps, one heavy, one light, circling him. Found you, Naruto whispered. He stomped his foot. A single, thick root erupted from the floor directly in the path of the heavier vibration. It wasn't a wall, it was a ramp. Kiba hit the ramp and launched into the air, his trajectory ruined. What? Naruto moved. He didn't use a shadow clone. He channeled his chakra into his shoulder. Wood clone jutsu. A clone emerged, separating from him like a splitting cell. It was made of timber and sap, solid and heavy. The wood clone caught Akamaru in midair. Gotcha, puppy. The real Naruto appeared above Kiba, and got you. Don't underestimate me. Kiba twisted in the air, slashing at Naruto with his claws, tunneling fang. He spun, his claws tearing into Naruto's chest. Crack! Naruto shattered. He wasn't flesh and blood. He was a log, a substitution. No. The log exploded into 100 sharp splinters. Gah! Kiba cried out as the splinters peppered his face. The real Naruto dropped from the ceiling where he had been hanging by a vine. Would release, smothering bind. He grabbed Kiba's vest. They plummeted to the ground. But before they hit, roots burst from the floor, weaving together to form a soft, springy net. They caught Naruto, but they wrapped around Kiba like a cage. Kiba struggled, but the wood was as hard as iron. The more he moved, the tighter it squeezed. Akamaru, held gently by the wood clone, whimpered. The dog could smell it now, the scent of the deep forest. It wasn't just chakra. It was the smell of an apex predator that had decided to be gentle. I can't move, Kiba grunted. Naruto stood over him. He held a kunai to Kiba's throat. Yield, Naruto said softly. Kiba looked up. He expected to see gloating. He expected to see the prankster who painted the Hokage faces. Instead, he saw a boy who looked like he had lived 1,000 years in the last week. You, Kiba swallowed, you're strong. I have to be, Naruto said. I yield, Kiba shouted. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The roots receded instantly, sinking back into the floor. Naruto offered Kiba a hand. Kiba took it, looking confused. No shadow clones, no pranks, you didn't even use the 9 tails. Those are for distractions, Naruto said, pulling him up. This was a fight, and you're my friend Kiba, I didn't want to hurt you. Kiba rubbed his neck. Yeah, well, next time I won't lose, and tell Akamaru he's a traitor for liking your wood clone more than me. Naruto laughed, scratching the back of his head. He just knows good timber when he smells it. The infirmary hallway. 10 minutes later, Naruto was checking on Sakura when Kiba walked out of the treatment room, a bandage on his cheek. Hey, Kiba said, leaning against the wall. He tossed Naruto a small container. Ointment, for the cuts I gave you. Naruto caught it, thanks. You know, Kiba said, looking at the ceiling, I always thought you were a joke. Everyone did, but in there, you felt different. You felt like the Hokage. Naruto blinked. Really? Don't let it go to your head, Kiba scoffed. I'm still gonna beat you, but maybe you're not just a dead last anymore. Maybe you're actually a rival. Naruto grinned, and this time it reached his eyes. You better watch out then, Kiba, because I'm gonna grow way taller than you. Kiba smirked. We'll see, Tree Boy, we'll see. Up on the balcony, Neji Hyuga watched with his Byakugan active. His chakra network. It's teeming with life. It's disgusting. It's overflowing. He fought blind, relying on vibrations in the earth. Hinata smiled, clutching her hands to her chest. He's amazing. As Naruto walked back up the stairs, he passed Neji. Fate decided this match, Neji said coldly. You were born with power, he was not. You are a main branch of the forest and he is a twig. Naruto stopped. He looked at Neji. Fate didn't decide anything, Naruto said. I decided to stop running, and twigs can grow into trees, Neji. You just have to give them light. He walked past, leaving Neji staring at his back. Next match, Hade announced. Hinata Hyuga versus Neji Hyuga. Naruto froze. He turned back to the board, then he looked at Hinata. She was pale, shaking like a leaf in a storm. She looked small. She looked terrified. Hinata, Naruto shouted. She looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. Don't let him tell you who you are, Naruto yelled, his voice cracking with intensity. He leaned over the railing, extending a hand as if he could transfer his will to her. You're not a failure. You're the girl who sat with me on the mountain. You saw the flowers in the stone. You're strong. Hinata took a deep breath. She looked at Neji, seeing the cold destiny in his eyes. Then she looked at Naruto, seeing the warm, vibrant chaos of life. The shaking stopped. Yes, she whispered, I am. She walked down the stairs to meet her destiny. The air in the arena was thin, charged with the static of two high-level chakra networks about to collide. Hinata Hyuga stood at the base of the stairs, her small frame looking fragile against the backdrop of the massive stone statues. Above her, Neji Hyuga waited, his presence cold and immovable as a mountain. Hinata. She stopped. Naruto was leaning over the railing, his face inches from hers. He didn't look like the loud-mouthed prankster she had first met. He looked serious, intense. He reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder. You can do this, Naruto said. The moment his skin touched hers, Hinata felt a jolt. It wasn't like an electric shock. It was like a sudden, warm spring rain in the middle of winter. A surge of energy, vibrant, green, and impossibly deep, flooded her system. It didn't just warm her, it anchored her. The shaking in her knees stopped instantly. Her vision cleared. The world, which had felt like a blurred nightmare of fear, suddenly came into sharp, crystalline focus. Naruto-kun, she breathed. Don't listen to him, Naruto whispered, his blue eyes boring into hers. He thinks he's a bird in a cage, but he's just a guy who forgot how to fly. You're a seed, Hinata, and seeds. They break through stone. Naruto retracted his hand, but the warmth remained, coiling around her heart like a protective vine. She felt strong, stronger than she had ever felt in her life. I will, Hinata said, her voice steady. She walked onto the arena floor. Neji watched her approach, his Byakugan already active. To his eyes, Hinata's chakra network was usually a thin, erratic stream, prone to flickering under pressure. But as she stepped into the center of the arena, he blinked. What is this? To the Byakugan, Hinata didn't look like Hinata. Her tenketsu were glowing with a fierce, emerald light. Her chakra wasn't just flowing, it was pulsing, a rhythmic, subterranean beat that felt like the heart of a forest. Hinata-sama, Neji said, his voice dripping with condescension. You have already lost. The stars have ordained your defeat. Why do you persist in this farce? Because, Hinata said, settling into the gentle fist stance. Her movements were fluid, devoid of the hesitation that had defined her entire life. The stars are too far away to decide anything for me. HMPH, arrogance, Neji charged. The fight was a blur of white and blue. In the original timeline, Hinata had been a punching bag, a tragic example of a failure trying to be a hero. But here, she was a warrior. Neji struck at her shoulder, aiming to shut down her arm. Hinata didn't just block. She parried with a force that made Neji's own arm go numb. She moved with a speed that shocked the Jonin proctors. Every time Neji closed a tenketsu, the vibrant green chakra Naruto had gifted her simply forced it back open, the vitality of the wood release refusing to be silenced. How? Neji growled, his palms striking out in a flurry of blows. How are you resisting the gentle fist? I'm not resisting, Hinata gasped, her face flushed but her eyes bright. I'm growing. She launched her own attack. 8 trigrams, 64 palms, she had never mastered it. She had barely managed 16 in practice, but with the seed inside her she didn't count. She just felt. 2 palms, 4, 8, 16, 32. Neji was forced onto the defensive. He couldn't believe it. This was the girl who cried during training. This was the failure of the main branch. 64, Hinata screamed, her final strike catching Neji squarely in the chest. Neji flew backward, skidding across the stone floor. He coughed, blood staining his white robes. The arena was dead silent. Even the Jonin were leaning over the railing, their eyes wide. She actually hit him, Kiba whispered, Akamaru barking in disbelief. Neji stood up. His face was a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. The destiny he so cherished had been spat upon. He looked at the balcony, his gaze finding Naruto. He saw the way Naruto was looking at Hinata with pride. You, Neji hissed, you did this. Neji's chakra flared. He didn't care about the exam anymore. He didn't care about the rules. He wanted to crush the thing that had dared to challenge his world view. 8 trigrams, rotation. He spun into a blue dome of pure energy, but instead of using it for defense, he launched it at Hinata. It was a brutal, high-level technique that a Jonin should never have used against a teammate. Hinata tried to block, but the seed was finally beginning to fade. The exhaustion of her own efforts crashed over her. The rotation slammed into her, throwing her against the stone wall with a sickening thud. Hinata, Naruto screamed. He didn't wait, he didn't think. He jumped over the railing, his hands already weaving signs. But he didn't need to. 4 Jonin, Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Hade were already there, pinning Neji to the floor before he could deliver a finishing blow. The match is over, Hade declared. Winner Neji Hyuga. Naruto ignored Neji. He rushed to Hinata. She was lying against the wall, her eyes fluttering. She was covered in bruises, her chakra network exhausted. Hinata, hey, stay with me. Naruto scooped her up, his hands glowing green as he tried to push more vitality into her. Hinata opened her eyes. She saw Naruto, she saw his tears. Did I do it? She whispered. You were amazing, Naruto sobbed. You were the strongest person in this whole room. Hinata smiled, a tired, beautiful thing. I felt the flowers, Naruto-kun, thank you. She passed out. The infirmary, an hour later. Hinata was resting in a private room. The medics said she would be fine, but she needed bed rest for at least a week. Naruto sat by her side, refusing to leave. You should go, Naruto, Kakashi said, standing in the doorway. "The matches are still going. Rock Lee is about to fight Gaara." "I don't care," Naruto said, his eyes fixed on Hinata's pale face. "You should care," a voice said. Naruto turned. Hiruzen Sarutobi was there, his robes rustling as he entered. He looked at Hinata, then at Naruto. "She showed great spirit today, Naruto, and so did you," Hiruzen said. "But the world doesn't stop for our feelings. Go watch the next match. You need to see what you're up against." Naruto gritted his teeth, but he knew the Hokage was right. He stood up, squeezed Hinata's hand one last time, and walked out. The match between Lee and Gaara was different. In the original timeline, it was a battle of hard work versus talent. Here, it felt like a battle of humanity versus the void. Lee was a blur of motion, opening gate after gate, his body screaming in protest. He hit Gaara with everything he had. He broke the sand shield. He landed the primary lotus. But Gaara was a hollow shell. Every time Lee hit him, the sand just shifted. Gaara didn't look like he was fighting, he looked like he was eating. His eyes were fixed on the balcony where Naruto had stood earlier. He was looking for the green he had smelled in the forest. When Gaara finally broke Lee's leg and arm, the sound echoing through the tower like a snapping branch, Naruto felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. Gaara wasn't a ninja. He was a desert that wanted to swallow the world. The infirmary hallway, twilight. Naruto was walking back to Hinata's room, his head spinning from the violence he had just witnessed. He was passing a darkened corner near the supply closet when his forest sense suddenly screamed. "Danger, rot, dead wood." He ducked. A needle, thin as hair and tipped with a purple liquid, whistled past his ear, embedding itself in the wooden doorframe. The wood around the needle instantly turned black and crumbled into ash. "Who's there?" Naruto yelled, his hands forming the snake seal. A figure emerged from the shadows. He wore the standard Konoha flak jacket, but his face was hidden by a porcelain mask, the mask of the ANBU. But something was wrong. The chakra coming off him didn't feel like the will of fire. It felt like the damp, suffocating air of a root cellar. "Lord Danzo requires your presence, Naruto Uzumaki," the agent said. His voice was a flat, emotionless drone. "The tower is no longer safe for you. Come with me for your own protection." "I'm not going anywhere with you," Naruto snapped. He stomped his foot, but only a few weak roots sprouted from the stone floor. He was still exhausted from the fight with Kiba and the transfer to Hinata. "Resistance is futile," the agent said, drawing a short sword. "You are an asset of the village. You do not belong to yourself." The agent lunged. Clang! A silver-haired figure landed between them. Kakashi Hatake stood with his back to Naruto, his white tanto held in a reverse grip, blocking the agent's blade. "I don't recall the Hokage issuing any transfer orders for my student," Kakashi said. His voice was ice cold, the lazy tone completely gone. "This is root business, Hatake," the agent hissed. "Step aside." "Root doesn't exist anymore, remember," Kakashi countered. "The third officially disbanded it years ago, which means you're just a rogue ninja attacking a leaf of the village." Poof! 2 more ANBU appeared, real ones, wearing the Hokage's insignia. They landed on either side of the root agent. "The Hokage would like a word with you," one of them said. The root agent looked at Kakashi, then at the ANBU. He knew he was caught. He reached for a poison pill in his tooth, but before he could bite down, Kakashi's hand blurred. Thwack! A precise strike to the neck, and the agent collapsed. "Naruto," Kakashi said, turning around. He looked at the black, ashen spot on the doorframe where the needle had hit. "Are you all right?" "Yeah," Naruto whispered. He said I was an asset, like I was a kunai or something." "You're not," Kakashi said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "And as long as I'm breathing, nobody is going to treat you like one." The third Hokage walked down the hall, his face a thundercloud of fury. He looked at the unconscious agent being hauled away by his men. "Danzo," Hiruzen whispered, his voice shaking with rage. "You finally overstepped." He looked at Naruto. "Go back to Hinata's room, Naruto. I'll have extra guards posted. You're safe now." Naruto nodded and walked back into the room. He sat down by Hinata, who was still sleeping peacefully. He looked at the single green leaf he had left on the Hokage monument earlier that week. The forest needs a gardener, Naruto thought, his fist clenching. But it also needs a wall, and I'm gonna be the strongest wall this village has ever seen. Outside, the storm the Hokage had predicted finally broke. The rain lashed against the tower, washing away the blood of the arena, but the shadows in the hallways remained, waiting for the month to pass. The finals were coming, and so was the snake. The training month began not with a bang but with a splash, and then a thud, and then a lot of yelling. "Focus, Naruto," Ebisu shouted from the edge of the hot spring. "You must walk on the water, not swim in it. This is basic chakra control." Naruto surfaced, spitting out a mouthful of sulphurous water. "I'm trying, you closet pervert, but the water hates me." He climbed back onto the surface, his feet glowing with blue chakra. He took a breath, centered himself, and took a step. Thwack! The moment his foot touched the water, the surface didn't just support him. It reacted. Green shoots erupted from the water around his ankles, tangling together to form a sturdy, flat lily pad. "See," Naruto yelled, pointing at the vegetation. "It keeps doing that. I try to stand and it makes a boat." "That is because you are leaking yang chakra." Ebisu adjusted his dark glasses, scribbling furiously in a notebook. "The wood release is life. Water nourishes life. You are unconsciously feeding the environment instead of creating a barrier. You must be precise, cold, detached." "I can't be detached." Naruto stomped his foot and 3 more lily pads popped up. A small frog hopped onto one and croaked at him. "Get off. This isn't a pond." He tried again. This time he focused on being cold. He thought about Sasuke. He thought about snow. Splash! A massive lotus flower erupted beneath him, lifting him 3 feet into the air. It bloomed instantly, pink and vibrant, releasing a cloud of pollen that made Ebisu sneeze. "Unbelievable," Ebisu groaned, wiping his glasses. "You have turned a therapeutic hot spring into a botanical garden. The proprietor will be furious." "It's not my fault," Naruto argued, sitting cross-legged on the giant lotus. "My chakra just wants to grow stuff. It's like it gets lonely if it's not making friends with the water." "Chakra does not have feelings, Naruto," Ebisu lectured. "It is energy. It is a tool. The first Hokage was a master of control. He could make a forest or a single flower. You are a forest fire waiting to happen." "Hey, I beat Kiba. I beat Neji's cousin. I'm awesome." "Luck," Ebisu dismissed. "Now stand up. We will try again, and this time try not to summon a swamp." Thwack! A wooden sandal collided with the back of Ebisu's head with a sound like a melon cracking open. The elite tutor crumpled instantly, unconscious before he even hit the ground. "You're doing it wrong, Specs," a voice boomed from atop a nearby giant toad statue. Naruto looked up, shielding his eyes from the sun. A man with a wild mane of white hair and a red Hiyori was striking a dramatic pose. He looked ridiculous. He looked powerful. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, squinting. "And why did you knock out my teacher? Not that I'm complaining, he was boring." "I am the sage of Mount Myaboku," the man shouted, leaping down. He landed with a grace that belied his size, the ground barely shuddering. "The gallant Jiraiya, and I'm here to fix what your teacher broke." Jiraiya walked over to Naruto, his eyes narrow and serious. There was no perverted giggle, no peeping. He looked at the seal on Naruto's stomach, his gaze piercing through the fabric of the orange jacket. "The 8-trigram seal," Jiraiya muttered, tracing the spiral pattern with his eyes. "And the DNA of the first. Minato, you really left behind a mess, didn't you? You knew the fourth, Naruto asked, his eyes widening. I taught him, Jiraiya said. He poked Naruto's forehead hard. And now I'm going to teach you, but first we need to talk to the landlord. Landlord. The fox, Jiraiya said, and the tree. The lesson. They sat by a river. The water rushed over the stones, clear and cold. Jiraiya drew a diagram in the dirt with a stick. Listen up, Jiraiya said. You have two types of chakra fighting inside you. The nine tails is pure yin, spiritual, dark, destructive energy. The wood release is pure yang, physical, vital, creative energy. He drew two circles overlapping. Usually these two hate each other. Fire burns wood. Wood suppresses fire. That's why you're struggling. Every time you try to use the fox's power, the wood release tries to cage it. Every time you try to use the wood release, the fox tries to burn it. So I'm stuck, Naruto asked, feeling defeated. I'm just a war zone. No, Jiraiya grinned. You're balanced if you can find the center, if you can make them work together. You won't just be a Jinchuriki, you'll be a sage. A sage. Someone who walks between heaven and earth, Jiraiya said. Someone who uses the energy of the world itself. But to do that, you need to stop being afraid of the fall. You need to trust that the ground will catch you. Jiraiya stood up. He grabbed Naruto's arm. His grip was like iron. Hey, let go. Naruto tried to pull away, but he couldn't budge the Sannin. You're strong, Jiraiya noted. Physically. Your body is denser than a normal boy's, that's the Senju blood. You can take a beating that would kill a Jonin, but your spirit is afraid. I'm not afraid. Yes, you are, Jiraiya said softly. You're afraid of the monster, and you're afraid of the forest. Today we break the fear. The cliff. You want me to what? Naruto screamed, looking over the edge of the ravine. It was a straight drop into a river of jagged rocks that looked like dragon's teeth. Jump, Jiraiya said, crossing his arms. The wood release is strong, Naruto. It's too strong. It's drowning out your other chakra. It's a loud roommate. You need a shock to the system to access the fox's power without letting the wood consume it. But if I fall, I'll die. Probably, Jiraiya shrugged. But if you don't, you'll be a legend, and legends don't die from falling. He didn't give Naruto a choice. He pushed him. Naruto fell. The wind roared in his ears, stealing his breath. The rocks rushed up to meet him. Panic. He tried to grab the air. He tried to call the wood, but the fear paralyzed him. The Mokuton wouldn't respond to fear, it responded to life. And right now, Naruto felt only death. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Deep inside. Naruto opened his eyes in the sewer of his mind. The cage was there, massive and golden. Behind the bars, two giant, slit-red eyes watched him. The air was thick with malice and ancient resentment. So, the Nine-Tails growled. Its voice was like a mountain grinding against another mountain. The Senju brat comes to beg. I'm not begging, Naruto said, walking up to the bars. The water around his ankles rippled. I'm demanding rent. Rent? The fox laughed, a terrifying sound that shook the pipes. You smell of him, Hashirama. I hate that smell. It reminds me of chains, of being a pet. That man. He used his wood to bind me, to treat me like a tool. The fox slammed a claw against the bars. Sparks flew. And before him the woman, Mito, she was a vortex. She held me in a cage of chains. You are just like them, jailers. I'm not Hashirama, Naruto shouted. And I'm not Mito, I don't even know who she is. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And if I die, you die, so give me the chakra. You want my power? The fox leaned closer, its massive snout pressing against the bars. Then prove you are not just another cage. Prove you can burn without turning to ash. The fox pushed a wave of red chakra through the bars. It was hot, hateful. It burned Naruto's skin like acid. Naruto grabbed it, but he didn't just let it burn him. He reached for the other feeling inside him, the cool, damp weight of the wood. Mix them, he thought, fire and wood, blaze and bloom. He imagined the wood not as a cage, but as a hearth, a place to hold the fire to give it purpose. Outside, Naruto slammed his hands together. Summoning jutsu. Poof! It wasn't a small puff of smoke. It was an explosion that shook the cliffside. When the dust cleared, Naruto wasn't falling. He was standing on the head of a massive toad. But this wasn't Gamabunta. This toad was sleek, green, and carried two massive swords on its back. It wore a necklace of giant wooden prayer beads that clattered in the wind. Gamahiro. Where am I? The toad rumbled, his voice deep and calm. He looked down at the ravine. And why do I smell? The forest. I did it, Naruto cheered, dancing on the toad's head. I'm alive. Jiraiya landed on the cliff edge, his jaw dropping. Gamahiro, he summoned the Silent Guardian. That toad hasn't answered a summons since the Second Great War. He hates noise. He hates cities. Gamahiro lifted a hand, plucking Naruto off his head like a flea. He held the boy up to his giant golden eye. You are small, Gamahiro noted, but your chakra, it tastes like old timber and fire. It is a strange flavor, like a forest after a rainstorm. Put me down, Naruto yelled, kicking his legs. Interesting, the toad mused. Gamabunta told me the fourth's brat was a loudmouth. He didn't mention you were a sapling. Gamahiro placed Naruto gently on the cliff. He bowed his head slightly. I do not usually answer summons, little one. I prefer the quiet of the mountain, but for you, I will make an exception. You have the scent of a gardener, and this world has too many lumberjacks. The toad vanished in a puff of smoke. Naruto collapsed, panting. He looked at his hands. They were shaking, but they felt balanced. The fire and the wood were quiet. Jiraiya walked over, a rare look of respect on his face. He sat down next to Naruto. Well, the sage said, you survived. Now the real training begins. The Konoha hospital always smelled of things that were trying to stay alive. It was a sharp, clinical scent, antiseptic and ozone, that sat heavy in Naruto's lungs as he walked down the quiet, white-tiled corridors. The squeak of his sandals on the linoleum seemed unnaturally loud in the evening stillness, echoing off the high, sterile walls like a ticking clock. After the roar of the waterfall and the heat of the ravine where Jiraiya had been pushing him to his limits, the hospital felt unnervingly still. The sun was setting outside, casting long, orange bars of light across the floor, making the shadows in the corners look deeper than they should have been. It was the hour of the ghost, a time when the village held its breath between the day and the night. Naruto carried a small, potted plant in his hands, a vibrant, emerald-green ivy he had encouraged to grow that morning. It wasn't much, but it was his first act of deliberate, gentle wood release. No thorns, no explosions, no massive roots tearing up the stone. Just life, quiet and persistent. He had spent hours focusing his chakra, trying to feel the plant's heartbeat, rather than just dominating it with his own. He stopped in front of room 214, Rock Lee. He pushed the door open quietly. Lee was lying in bed, his leg and arm encased in thick white plaster that looked like stone. He looked small, which was a strange, unsettling sight for a man who had opened the fifth gate and nearly turned an arena to dust with the power of his youth. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow and shallow, the only sound the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. Hey, bushy brows, Naruto whispered, placing the ivy on the bedside table. I brought you some company. This plant, it's a fighter. It grew out of a dry pot because I asked it to, just like you're gonna walk again because you decide to. The ivy seemed to shiver in the faint draft from the window, its leaves turning slightly toward the sleeping ninja, as if acknowledging his presence. Naruto sat in the chair by the window looking out at the village. He thought about his own fight with Kiba and then the horrific way Gaara had broken Lee. He felt the weight in his gut, the cool, subterranean hum of the forest. It was restless today. It felt like it was sensing something, a vibration in the earth that shouldn't be there. Thump! A sound from the hallway, not a footstep, more like a heavy bag of grain being dragged across the floor, or sand shifting against tile. Naruto stiffened. His forest sense flared, a cold spike of alarm driving through his mind like a shard of ice. Sand, dead earth, hunger. He stood up, his hand going to his kunai pouch. He didn't open the door. He didn't have to. The door didn't open. It disintegrated. A stream of fine, tan sand poured through the cracks in the doorframe, swirling into the room like a living, hungry snake. It coalesced in the center of the floor, forming the shape of a boy with red hair and eyes that looked like they had never known sleep. The black circles around his eyes seemed to pulse with a dark, oily energy. "Gaara." "You," Gaara whispered. His voice was a dry rasp, the sound of wind over bones. It made the hair on Naruto's arm stand up. "The gardener." "What are you doing here, Gaara?" Naruto asked, stepping between the sand and Lee's bed. He kept his feet wide, grounding himself. "The mother, she is noisy today," Gaara said, his head tilting at that unnatural angle again, his neck cracking audibly. "She says the green one is here, the one who smells of life. She wants to see if your blood is green too. She wants to know if you bleed sap or sorrow." The sand rose from the floor, forming a jagged, reaching hand with claws like eagle talons. It wasn't moving toward Naruto. It was reaching for Lei's throat, intending to finish what the arena had started. "I need his blood to prove I exist," Gaara murmured, his eyes wide and vacant. "His existence is an insult to my own. He worked so hard. He believed in effort. And I broke him like a twig. I must erase the remnants of his struggle." "Stop it," Naruto said. He wasn't yelling. His voice was low, vibrating with a subterranean power that seemed to hum in the very foundation of the hospital. "Why?" Gaara asked, his eyes finally fixing on Naruto. "You are like me, you know the hunger. You know the way the world looks at you when they think you are a monster. You are a vessel for a beast that hates the sun. Why do you protect these insects?" "Because they're not insects," Naruto snapped. He didn't stomp. He didn't slap his hands. He just leaned into the weight, visualizing the ivy on the table. He thought of Hinata's hand on the mountain. A single, pale root, thin as a wire but looking like it was made of forged, polished iron, erupted from the floorboard directly beneath Gaara's sand hand. It didn't strike or lash out. It wove itself into the sand, knitting the grains together with a sudden, overwhelming vitality. The sand hand froze, turning into a solid, wooden statue of a reaching limb. Gaara blinked, his brow furrowing in genuine confusion. He tried to pull the sand back, to command it to crumble, but the root held firm. It was drinking the chakra from the sand, neutralizing its destructive intent with a calm, patient presence. "The forest doesn't kill because it's hungry, Gaara," Naruto said, stepping closer until he was inches from the sand shield. "It kills to protect the garden. And Lee, he's part of my garden, and so are you if you just stop trying to burn everything down." The tension in the room was suffocating. Gaara's sand hissed like a nest of vipers, more of it pouring from the gourd on his back. But every time it touched the floor, tiny sprouts of grass and moss appeared in its wake, the building itself seemingly siding with Naruto. "Your mother, she's lying to you," Naruto said, his voice soft now, filled with a pity that Gaara clearly found repulsive. "She's not a mother, she's a cage. And if you keep listening to her, you'll never be anything but a ghost haunting your own skin." Gaara's face twisted in a sudden, sharp spasm of pain. He clutched his head, his sand shield flaring in a chaotic, jagged storm around him that shattered the nearby medical equipment. Shut up," Gaara hissed, his voice cracking into a high-pitched scream. "You know nothing, you have the wood, you have the sun, I have only the dark, I have only the mother's love." "Then find a window," Naruto said. Suddenly, the door to the room burst open. Shikamaru Nara and Gai Sensei rushed in, their faces masks of alarm. Shikamaru already had his hands in a shadow possession seal. "Gaara," Guy roared, his green spandex looking like a blur of neon in the dim room. "What is the meaning of this?" Gaara looked at the newcomers, his eyes darting between them and the wooden hand Naruto had created. The sand receded, flowing back into his gourd like a retreating tide of filth. The root that Naruto had created crumbled into fine, gray ash as the chakra sustaining it was withdrawn. "The exams," Gaara whispered, his eyes never leaving Naruto's. "I will kill you in the finals. I will turn your garden into a wasteland. I will make you watch as the forest dies." With a swirl of sand, he vanished through the window, leaving only the scent of salt and dry earth behind. The rooftop midnight. Naruto couldn't sleep. He sat on the roof of the hospital, looking out over the village. The moon was a silver crescent, hanging low over the trees like a scythe. He could feel the forest outside the walls. It was restless. The rot he had felt in the forest of death was spreading, a slow, creeping sickness that tasted like snakes and old ink. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the night. It was short, sharp, and cut off with a sickening crunch. Naruto stood up, his eyes scanning the rooftops. He saw a flash of orange fire a few blocks away, near the stadium. He moved. He didn't use the streets. He ran across the power lines, his feet finding purchase on the wood with an instinctive, effortless grace. He felt like a part of the city's skeleton, a shadow moving through the canopy of the man-made forest. He reached the roof of a high-rise warehouse overlooking the arena. There, standing in the center of a circle of broken stone, was Gaara. Lying at his feet was Dasu Kinuta, the sound ninja with the bandages. His body was flat. It looked like he had been hit by a falling mountain. His sound-amplifying gauntlet was shattered, the metal twisted into a useless hunk of junk that looked like a crushed soda can. "Too loud," Gaara murmured to the corpse, his back to Naruto. "You were too loud. Your sound was an itch I had to scratch." Gaara looked up then, his gaze finding Naruto on the opposite roof. He didn't attack. He just stared, the moonlight reflecting in his hollow eyes. "He tried to kill me," Gaara said, as if explaining a simple fact. "He wanted to take my place in the finals. He thought he could outrun the sand. He didn't understand that the desert is everywhere." "He was just a guy, Gaara," Naruto said, his heart hammering against his ribs. He could see the mother now, a flickering tan aura around Gaara that looked like a screaming ancient face. "He had a name. He had a team." "He was a tool," Gaara countered, stepping over the body. "Like you, like me, but my tool is sharper, it has more teeth." Gaara turned and walked toward the edge of the roof. "Enjoy the month, gardener. It is the last time you will see the sun. When the finals begin, I will pull the roots from your body and feed them to the sand." He stepped off the edge, his body dissolving into sand before he hit the ground, a tan cloud that vanished into the darkness. Naruto stood alone on the roof, looking down at Dasu's body. He felt a deep, cold shiver that no amount of Nine Tails chakra could warm. The weight in his gut didn't feel like soil anymore. It felt like a wall that was being pounded on from the other side by something that didn't know how to stop. He looked toward the Hyuga compound. He saw a single light burning in a window high up. Hinata. She was in there, recovering, believing in him. "I am the gardener," Naruto thought, his fist clenching until his nails drew blood. "And I'm gonna be the strongest wall this village has ever seen." The next morning, the training ground. "You're late," Jiraiya said, not looking up from a complex scroll of sealing formulas. He was sitting cross-legged under a waterfall that should have been freezing, but he looked perfectly comfortable. "I had some things to think about," Naruto said, his voice flat and hard. Jiraiya looked up then, his sharp eyes taking in Naruto's pale face and the grim set of his jaw. He saw the way the grass around Naruto's feet was standing straight up, reacting to his tension like a cat's fur. "The sand boy?" Jiraiya asked. "He killed someone last night," Naruto said, And he tried to kill Lee. He calls me a tool, pervy sage. He says we're both just weapons for our villages. Jiraiya sighed, rolling up the scroll. The world is a cruel place, kid. Some people are born in the shade and some are born in the fire. Gaara. He was born in a furnace that never went out. He's not wrong about the tool part. That's how the elders see you. That's how Danzo sees you. I don't care how they see me, Naruto said, his hands forming the snake seal with a speed that blurred. I'm gonna stop him. I'm gonna stop all of them. I won't let the desert take the garden. Good, Jiraiya said, standing up and brushing the water from his hair. Then let's stop playing with tadpoles. Today we work on the big one, the foundation. The big one. The forest of the four pillars, Jiraiya said. A technique of the first. It's not a weapon, Naruto, it's a structure. It's the ability to create order out of chaos. If you can't build a house, you can't protect a home. If you can't control the growth, you're just another weed. Naruto nodded. He closed his eyes, reaching deep into the earth past the rot, past the hate, searching for the ancient, silent roots that held the world together. He felt the subterranean pulse of the planet, the massive, slow heartbeat of the forest. I am the gardener, he told himself. And for the first time, the forest didn't just scream. It answered back with a deep, welcoming rumble. In a window miles away, Hinata Hyuga stood leaning against the glass, her pale eyes fixed on the distant training grounds. She couldn't see him, but she could feel him. A warm, green hum in the air. Keep growing, Naruto-kun, she whispered to the glass. I'm right behind you. The sun beat down on the Konoha Stadium, turning the stone floor into a skillet. Thousands of spectators filled the stands, villagers, nobles, lords from other lands. They were a sea of color and noise, buzzing with the anticipation of violence. In the waiting area, Naruto stood with his back to the wall. He wasn't vibrating with energy today. He was still. He was wearing a new orange jacket, the swirl on the back bright red, but beneath it, his body was wrapped in bandages from a month of brutal training. Nervous? Shikamaru asked, leaning against the opposite wall. No, Naruto said. He looked at the tunnel leading to the arena. I'm just waiting for the roots to take hold. Troublesome metaphor, Shikamaru muttered, but he looked at Naruto with a new respect. Just don't do anything stupid, like lose. I won't lose, Naruto said. I have a promise to keep. Naruto Uzumaki, Neji Hyuga, to the arena, the proctor called. The crowd roared as they walked out. Neji looked calm, his white eyes scanning the crowd as if they were insects. He wore the traditional Hyuga robes, pristine and untouched. Naruto looked different. There was a gravity to him that hadn't been there a month ago. He walked heavy, as if his feet were sinking slightly into the stone with each step. So, Neji said, settling into his stance. The failure returns to be crushed. Have you accepted your fate, or do you still cling to your delusions? Do you still think you can change the flow of the river by throwing a pebble? I don't have delusions, Neji, Naruto said. And I'm not throwing pebbles, I'm planting seeds. A garden, Neji scoffed. You speak in riddles, but riddles will not save you from the gentle fist. Destiny has decided this match. I am a genius. You are a dropout. That is the immutable truth of the universe. Just as I was born into the branch family, you were born to be a stepping stone. Begin, the proctor shouted. Neji moved instantly. He was a blur of speed, closing the gap in a heartbeat. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. He struck Naruto's chest. Thud. Naruto didn't dodge, he took the hit. But he didn't fly backward. He stood firm, his feet seemingly glued to the floor. 4 palms, 8 palms. Neji's strikes were precise, shutting down Naruto's tenketsu with surgical efficiency. But every time Neji hit him, it felt like striking a tree trunk. Naruto's skin was hard, dense. 16 palms, Neji grimaced. Why won't you fall? Because, Naruto gritted his teeth, chakra flaring, my roots go deep. He slammed his hands together. Would release, underground roots. The stadium floor exploded. It wasn't a single tree. It was a wave of roots, thick as pythons, erupting from the stone beneath Neji's feet. They weren't aiming to hit him, they were aiming to cage him. Neji leaped into the air, spinning. Rotation. The blue dome of chakra deflected the roots, shredding the wood into sawdust. Neji landed, looking down at the mess of timber. "Is this your power?" Neji sneered. "Dead wood, it cannot penetrate my defense. My rotation is absolute, just like my destiny." "Nothing is absolute," Naruto said. He performed a new seal one Jiraiya had taught him: snake, dog, snake. Secret art, nativity of a world of trees. The crowd gasped. The sawdust on the floor didn't stay dead, it sprouted. In seconds, the arena floor was consumed. Saplings shot up into towering oaks. Vines wove themselves into a canopy. The flat, open stadium was transformed into a dense, suffocating jungle. The audience stood up, craning their necks. "Is that," an old man in the front row whispered, tears streaming down his face, "is that the First Lord?" "Impossible," another villager murmured. "The boy, he's the demon brat. How can he have the god's power?" Neji was forced to retreat, jumping from branch to branch to avoid being snagged. This is the First Hokage's power. You stole this. You are a fraud." "You talk about cages, Neji," Naruto's voice echoed from everywhere. "You say you're trapped by your clan, by your seal, but look around you." Neji spun, Byakugan active. He couldn't find the real Naruto. The chakra signature was everywhere, in the trees, in the leaves, in the air itself. It was overwhelming. It was life. "You built a cage of wood," Neji shouted. "It is just another prison. You are trapping us both." "No," Naruto said. He emerged from the trunk of the massive tree directly behind Neji. "It's an ecosystem. In a forest, everything is connected. The dead leaves feed the new ones. The roots share water. Nobody is alone." Neji struck, aiming for Naruto's heart. "I don't need connections. I need power. I need to break free." Naruto caught Neji's wrist. Neji's eyes widened. He tried to pull away, but Naruto's grip was like iron. "You're wrong, Neji," Naruto whispered. "Power is connection." Naruto didn't punch him. He channeled chakra. Wood release, great forest technique. Naruto's arm transformed. It exploded into a mass of wood, wrapping around Neji's arm, his chest, his legs. It wasn't an attack, it was an embrace. The wood grew over Neji, pinning him to the tree. "Let me go," Neji screamed, his rotation failing as the wood absorbed his chakra. "You don't understand. My father died for the main branch. I am a slave to their will." "And you think making Hinata suffer changes that?" Naruto yelled back. "You think hurting her makes you free. It just makes you the jailer." "Look," Naruto said, pointing up. Neji looked. Through the canopy of the trees Naruto had created, a single shaft of sunlight pierced the gloom. It hit a small bird's nest resting in the crook of a branch. "That bird isn't in a cage," Naruto said. "It's in a home. The branch supports it. The leaves hide it. It's free because it relies on the tree. You can be the bird, Neji, or you can be the cage. It's your choice." Neji stopped struggling. He looked at the nest. He looked at Naruto. He saw the sweat on Naruto's face, the desperate sincerity in his eyes. You pity me?" Neji asked, his voice trembling. "No," Naruto said. "I understand you. I was alone too. I thought everyone hated me, but then I found people who let me grow. Hinata, she believes in you, Neji, even after everything." The wood receded, releasing Neji. He fell to his knees, panting. He looked at his hands, the hands that were supposed to be instruments of destiny. He looked at the seal on his forehead, covered by his headband. I lost," Neji whispered. The proctor stepped forward, stunned. "Winner, Naruto Uzumaki." The crowd didn't cheer immediately. They were in shock. They were looking at the forest that had swallowed the arena. They were looking at the boy in orange who stood in the center of it, not as a monster but as a master. Then slowly, the applause started. It wasn't the polite clapping of nobles. It was the roar of a village realizing that their history had returned. The waiting area. Naruto walked back into the tunnel. He was exhausted. Creating a forest took a lot out of him. His legs felt like lead. "You did it," Shikamaru said, shaking his head. "You actually beat the genius, and you turned the arena into a greenhouse. Troublesome." "He beat himself," Naruto said, leaning against the wall. "He was fighting a ghost. I just showed him a tree." "Deep," Shino commented, a bug buzzing near his ear. Naruto. Sasuke was standing there. He was wearing a black romper, his arm wrapped in bandages. The curse mark was silent, suppressed by Kakashi's seal and Sasuke's own will. "You're up next," Naruto said. "Don't lose to the raccoon." "I won't," Sasuke said. He looked at the arena where the groundskeepers were frantically trying and failing to clear the trees. "You set the bar high, Dobi. A whole forest. You're trying to show off." "It got away from me a little," Naruto admitted, grinning sheepishly. "Jiraiya says I have enthusiasm issues. But hey, at least I didn't set anything on fire." Sasuke smirked. "Just watch me. I'm going to burn that forest down." "Hey, I worked hard on that." Sasuke walked past him, his eyes focused on the tunnel exit. "Naruto." "Yeah. Nice fight, you looked strong." Naruto watched him go. He felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the nine tails. "Yeah," Naruto whispered. "You too, Sasuke." The arena cleared mostly. It took an hour to clear enough space for the next match. Stumps littered the ground like tombstones. Sasuke Uchiha vs Gaara. Gaara stood on the far side, his sand swirling restlessly. He looked agitated. The forest Naruto had created had left a scent in the arena, a scent of life that irritated Shukaku. "Mother is screaming," Gaara muttered, clutching his head. "She hates the green, she wants red." Sasuke stood opposite him. He dropped into a stance that looked familiar. "Lee's stance," Guy whispered from the balcony. "Begin." Sasuke vanished. It wasn't teleportation. It was raw speed. He appeared inside Gaara's guard, landing a punch that cracked the armor of sand. Gaara flew backward. He couldn't believe it. This boy. He was fast as the green one. For 10 minutes, Sasuke dominated. He dismantled Gaara's defenses with a surgical precision that left the crowd breathless. But he couldn't penetrate the final defense, the sphere of sand. Gaara retreated inside the sphere, creating a third eye to watch. Sasuke retreated to the arena wall. He began to run down the side, gathering speed. Lightning crackled in his hand. The sound of 1,000 birds filled the stadium. Chidori. Sasuke launched himself. He was a streak of lightning. Crash. His hand pierced the sand sphere. Silence. Then a scream, not human. It was the shriek of a wounded demon. "Blood, my blood," Gaara howled. Sasuke tried to pull his hand back, but the sand gripped him. He saw a yellow eye through the hole, an eye with a star-shaped pupil. Suddenly, white feathers began to fall from the sky. In the stands, the audience's eyes glazed over. They slumped forward, asleep. "Genjutsu," Kakashi said, instantly forming a dispel sign. "Release." "Naruto, Sakura, wake up," Kakashi shouted. Naruto didn't need to be told. The moment the feathers touched him, the weight in his gut surged, dispelling the illusion instantly. His chakra was too dense, too alive to be suppressed by a sleep spell. "What's happening?" Sakura asked, rubbing her eyes. "The invasion," Kakashi said, pulling out a kunai. An explosion rocked the cage box. Smoke billowed. On the arena floor, the sand sphere shattered. Gaara emerged, half transformed. His right arm was a monstrous limb of sand, his face twisting into a tanuki's snout. "Sasuke Uchiha," Gaara roared, "you will be the first sacrifice." Temari and Kankuro landed beside him, grabbing him. "The plan, we have to go." They fled the arena, heading for the forest. Sasuke looked at Kakashi. Kakashi nodded. Go, Kakashi ordered. Hunt them down. Sakura, wake Shikamaru and Naruto. You're a tracking team now. Follow Sasuke, don't let him die. Right, Naruto shouted. He looked up at the cage box. A barrier of purple flame had erected itself, trapping the Hokage inside with the cage. Old man, Naruto whispered. Go, Naruto, Kakashi yelled, blocking a sound ninja's sword. He can handle himself. Your mission is Gaara. Naruto gritted his teeth. He turned to Sakura. Let's go, we have a monster to catch. As they leaped out of the stadium, Naruto looked back at the stumps of his forest. I built a garden, he thought. Now I have to keep the desert from burying it.